What if the greatest strength isn't belonging, but the ability to stand completely alone? We've been sold a myth, the idea that success requires a tribe, a consensus, a group stamp of approval. But that consensus is a cage. The masses? They are predictable. They chase validation, they react to trends, and they move in predictable, emotional waves. They are excellent sheep. The Sigma, however, operates outside the flock's rhythm. He doesn't seek acceptance, he seeks mastery. His isolation isn't a burden, it is a fortress. It is the ultimate strategic advantage. While the herd argues and reacts, the Sigma observes, learns, and adapts from the periphery. He doesn't participate in the game, he changes the rules. The true question isn't who belongs, but who can afford to be invisible. And what happens when the invisible man finally decides to make his move? The greatest weapon is not force, but perspective. To win, you must first become a ghost in the machine, an observer who is never seen. The herd believes that participation equals power, but the silent analyst knows better. True power resides in the data stream, in the subtle patterns others overlook while they are busy performing. You must train your mind to filter out the noise and isolate the critical variables. Don't react, analyze. Don't participate, observe. This shift in focus is painful, requiring you to stand apart and watch the drama unfold from a distance. It is the cold, hard truth that the most valuable information is gathered when no one is looking. The truly powerful never make a move until they have mapped every single weakness and every potential angle. So, ask yourself, what are you currently observing, and what is the hidden truth you are ignoring? You spent your 20s chasing goals that belong to other people. You built a life based on validation, the likes, the promotions, the perceived success of others. That external scaffolding is a lie. It's a cage you happily built for yourself. Stop seeking approval. Stop optimizing for someone else's metrics. The true battlefield is internal. You must dismantle the belief that your worth is conditional. This isn't about self-help platitudes, it's about architectural warfare against your own conditioning. You need a core that cannot be shaken by market fluctuations or social media drama. You must define your own operating system. The moment you rely on external praise, you hand over your sovereignty. You become a reactive puppet. The silent wolf doesn't react to the pack, it dictates the terms of the hunt. Before you can master the world, you must master the quiet space between your thoughts. But what happens when the outside world finally demands that perfect, unshakable core from you? The greatest power is often the power to do nothing. In a world obsessed with reaction, the Sigma understands the value of the pause. Non-engagement is not apathy, it is a calculated, tactical withdrawal. It is the art of making yourself irrelevant to the conflict. When others are scrambling for attention, you are building your fortress of silence. You starve the drama of oxygen, forcing the chaos around you to consume itself. The opponent doesn't know if they should escalate or retreat, which is the ultimate paralyzing effect. True strength isn't measured by how loud you can fight, but by how perfectly you can fade into the background until they forget you were ever there. The quiet space you cultivate is not merely peace, it is a weapon, a vacuum that drains their resolve. But what happens when the silence is so profound, the world starts believing the threat is gone, when in reality, you are just gathering the perfect energy for the next strike? They mistake competence for mere skill. They confuse proficiency with mastery. The Sigma understands this distinction. True competence is not about knowing more things, it is about building an undeniable, synergistic core of abilities that cannot be replicated or countered. It is the silent stacking of knowledge, the perfect blend of physical, intellectual, and emotional weaponry. While others are busy collecting superficial credentials, the Sigma is forging deep, interlocking systems. You must become the singular point of failure for your opponents. This requires relentless, almost boring dedication to a few high-leverage domains. You must build a skill set so comprehensive, so integrated, that facing you feels less like a fight and more like an inevitability. The question is not if you can win, but how much you are willing to sacrifice to become that necessary force. If you think success is about being the loudest voice in the room, you're already losing. The collective mind is a gravitational pull, drawing you toward consensus, noise, and predictable conflict. But the true power of the Sigma is not volume, it is observation. It is the mastery of the overlooked, understanding the gaps in the system, the unspoken rules, and the blind spots of the herd. You must build a comprehensive skill set, not just expertise, but integration. Master the technical, the psychological, and the logistical. These are the peripheral skills that make you indispensable. You must become the necessary variable. But this depth of knowledge, this absolute self-reliance, comes at a cost. As you build your fortress of skill, you begin to notice the cracks forming in the foundations of the collective. The question is, when the system finally breaks, who will be left standing in the silence? Stop scrolling. Your attention span is not yours anymore, it's a commodity being stolen. The modern world is designed to create cognitive pollution, a constant, low-grade distraction that keeps you perpetually busy and perpetually weak. To survive the collapse, you cannot be scattershot. You must become ruthlessly minimalist. This means treating your life like a weaponized operating system, pruning everything that doesn't generate maximum output. Delete the junk data, the toxic relationships, the pointless scrolling, the commitments that drain your energy. Focus is not a virtue, it is a tactical weapon. Master your environment, master your attention. Implement the 3 filters, filter out all inputs that don't serve a direct goal. Schedule deep work blocks where you are unreachable. And most critically, eliminate the sources of distraction before they even appear. Because the deepest advantage belongs not to the busiest person, but to the one who controls their focus, the one who knows what to cut and what to leave behind. But what happens when the systems you rely on to filter the noise finally fail? The modern world is designed to amplify consensus. Social media, corporate echo chambers, and friend groups act as sophisticated feedback loops, validating belief and suppressing dissent. This isn't accidental, it's an engineered environment where conformity is rewarded and independent thought is pathologized. When everyone agrees, the pressure to assimilate becomes overwhelming, making the path of least resistance the safest one. The Sigma recognizes this trap. We don't join the consensus, we observe the edges. We understand that the moment the group narrative becomes too comfortable, it becomes too brittle. The illusion of universal agreement is simply a massive, collective vulnerability. And if the system is built on shared belief, what happens when the shared belief begins to fracture? What happens when the ground you stand on is revealed to be nothing but sand? The system doesn't collapse in a fiery explosion, it simply unravels. It's quieter, more insidious. We aren't talking about a visible breach, we're talking about the silent erosion of shared reality. Every consensus, every unquestioned truth, is just a thread woven by shared belief. And threads, when pulled enough, don't snap, they fray. We don't need a revolution, we need a whisper. A single, perfectly timed doubt planted in the right mind. The vulnerability isn't in the infrastructure, it's in the collective agreement to believe the lie. We are the masters of the doubt, the architects of the fracture. Our move is not visible, but absolute. It begins with the single point of failure, the one person who sees the seams. But knowing where to push the first stone requires understanding the deepest, most hidden cracks of all. What happens when the cracks start talking to each other? Forget what they taught you about connection. The code demands surgical withdrawal. Solitude is not a refuge, it is a weapon. It is the ultimate intelligence asset. You must learn to read the subtle language of absence, the silence between the whispers, the hesitation in the eye contact. This is where the true cracks appear, the structural weaknesses in their perfect facade. You don't wait for the collapse, you locate the fulcrum point, the single point of maximum leverage. Mastery means making your disappearance the most consequential event in their entire operation. You become the variable they cannot predict, the ghost they cannot track. Every breath, every calculated move, must be a ripple of controlled chaos. But the deepest power isn't in the withdrawal. It's in the choice. The moment you decide which crack to exploit, which legacy to claim, fundamentally changes everything. Are you ready to burn the bridge, or will you simply walk across it?